Hey, as you guys are coming in, fill up the front tables as much as possible. The IT guys are going to join us in a few minutes, so and they'll be coming in the back of the room. So try to fill up the front tables as much as possible, please. No more wine?
Later. Real stuff. So some of these guys are going on diets, I'm going to rehab.
Come on up. Come on up. So, come on up, John. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to take about 15 minutes or so and really just kind of have a quick Q&A session. When we had the Jeopardy game and we had the questions from the audience, we actually were kind of hoping there would be a question or two that came from the audience, and we know that we moved through that kind of quickly. So we thought we would take a few minutes now before the IT folks join us in about 15 or 20 minutes or so, and our next speaker comes on, and give you guys an opportunity to ask questions, really anything that you would like to ask. I know that there's probably a question or two about some of the strategies that either we're employing as a discipline or the strategies that we're employing as a company, like the Guest Room Entertainment Program. So we got a esteemed panel up here. All the hard questions go to these guys. All the easy questions go to me. And we'll open it up for questions. And hopefully there's a microphone or two that's floating around the audience. You got that? Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, okay. I'll let everybody introduce themselves real quickly.
Hello. Hi, Keith Trace, Director of Engineering Systems and Special Projects. You'll know me from Transcendent and Get in the Box.
And Barry Estes, Director of Engineering and Facility Services, Talent Acquisition, Recruiting, Talent Development, Training. Thanks.
Can you fit that all on a business card?
Front and back.
That's probably what it takes. Good morning. Again, John Sipe.
And good morning again, Bob Simonson. I bet you're tired of me by now. I am. So let's start with some questions. I asked some folks to give some thought to it, so.
Terry?
We may need some microphones out in the field. We can share.
Yeah, go up. Terry, just stand up and speak loudly.
Okay. Our owners own 3 Marriott hotels. On our property, we put in Time Warner TV systems, which they love. Okay, our owners own 3 Marriott properties. One of them being the, Renaissance Indian Wells. Used to be AKA the Esmeralda. But we put in a Time Warner TV system, and the asset manager said, no brainer, do this. It's in January. It's a very nice system. But the upfront cost was about $3,000. And the asset manager, I got an email here on my phone. He is getting West Coast, the DOEs just went through the entertainment here, and he has the Union Square in San Francisco and the Vinoy in Florida. And he's looking at the upfront cost for that. What do I respond on the email, Rob, as to
Yeah, you guys are going to ask some tough questions, and we're going to give you some tough answers. And this is going to be one of those kind of tough answers that not always are you going to want to hear this answer, and your owners especially are probably not going to want to hear this answer always. Here's the thing with the Guest Room Entertainment, and if you didn't hear, Terry, his question, and let me sum up just real quickly. Terry has a conflict because he's got a relatively new TV system in his hotel that works really well. It's got a lot of great features in it, and it's less expensive than the Marriott program. Is that essentially? So here's the thing, though, is that as a larger company, and I promise you, every single one of your paychecks, my paycheck says Marriott at the top, and we need to have great partnerships with our owners. Absolutely, positively, that is an important thing for us to do every single day. But we need to protect our brand. We need to build our brand. That's the company that we work for. And there has been a ton of work that has gone into this entertainment platform, and there's other things that are going to come along, like you're going to see, if you haven't seen already, a new standard for locks, so we can get to the point that people can open their doors with their cell phones, with their mobile devices. That's coming down the pike. And owners are not necessarily going to be happy about all these things because there is costs that are involved with this. But we need to stick with the programs that are being laid out. They're really thoughtfully being developed. They're really thoughtfully being tested. And we need everyone in this room to be the salesperson, cheerleader for these programs and help push these things to the owners. Again, there's going to be pushback. But that's what we're here for. Okay, and that's what corporate's here for. When you get pushback from the owners, you guys don't need to be the bad guys. Your general manager doesn't need to be the bad guys necessarily. That's what Bob. He's a good bad guy. He's a good bad. You're a bad guy. So he's one of those, but he's good at it. So use us to help those conversations with owners, especially with the guest room entertainment, because there is going to be a lot of confusion, and we know that we're going to get a lot of calls. Just like that, saying, hey, we got this better price from somebody else. There's only going to be 3 vendors. It's in sale, World Cinema, Guest Tech. That's the only ones that are going to be approved. We're almost done with the contract for the other 2, and then that's it. And they have to adhere to the brand standard. And if they don't adhere to the brand standard, eventually you're going to get points off on your QA audit. So. Yeah, John's asking about the over-the-top services, which is like, Netflix, Pandora, YouTube, all the things that will be eventually available on the TVs. And I'll add one point to that. And as an exclusive deal for Marriott. We are the only ones that are working with Netflix kind of exclusively right now, but that won't last very long, is that it's going to be available to everybody. What we have the advantage of is that we're moving fast. And we need all of your help to continue to move fast so we can beat the competition. The one thing I will add, and this is really, really important, your HSI infrastructure has to support the new guest room entertainment platform. You most likely are going to have DOCSIS in your hotels. That's internet over the coax system. If you want all the details, sorry, Randy, call Randy later or catch him at the break. Sorry, Randy. But you're going to need that, or you're going to need a hardwired connection to your TV. If you don't have that, don't trust that the OTT services are going to work over the Wi-Fi system, because we want to have a great experience for our customers. We, as operators, we're in the customer service business. We want to have a great experience for our customers. We don't want the streaming, thing that spins on the TV when they're trying to access Netflix. We want it to come up right away. The best way for us to do that is either through DOCSIS or a hardwired connection. Thanks, Terry. It's a long question. So.
Another question?
How are the owners accepting the new guest rooms?
Detroit.
The owners what?
Accepting the new guest rooms. You knew the Marriott
The
specific
new Marriott
guest room?
guest room, yes.
Pretty well. We have, there's some early adapter pain, as usual. I can tell you that the heartburn is in the hardwood flooring, the hard surface flooring. We thought we had a win at the Portland Marriott, but again, through value engineering, that did not happen. So I would say the bathroom is a home run. And the room in general, getting things off the floor. You remember Kareem's, how Moxie can achieve an open floor plan by getting everything on the wall. So the hard surface flooring and cleaning it up, the floor has been a bit of an issue. And then the closet, the open closet concept has met with some resistance. So, and then the third piece of heartburn, so I should have led with, everybody loves it. It's a custom package. It's regionalized. They love that. Host doesn't care for it that much because they lose economy of scale when it's as customized as that. But the hardwood flooring, the open closet, and there's still development in the work surface. We no longer use the desk term. Some of the early adapters, Mike Wormel has probably got the worst example of the designers just missing it completely and not listening to us at the Renaissance in Chicago. So there's some what I call retrofits going on in St. Louis and in the Renaissance Chicago. And what we're seeing now coming out of Kareem's team is what's called a Parsons table, which is a little bit wider work surface. So early adapters, still moving forward, has a lot of positive energy. You're going to see, the in-room entertainment. There's a lot of focus on the Marriott Hotel brand and pushing a lot of things forward on that. Rob, you have anything else to offer?
Yeah, the one thing I would add on the hardwood floors, just really quickly, you guys are absolutely in a terrific position to influence the design for the sample rooms. And we need to influence that. Noise in our hotels is as problem goes, is the #1 complaint from our customers. We have a lot of work to do in regards to noise, and it's noise from all kinds of different areas. Hardwood floors in some hotels are not going to work. Make sure you do the investigation around this for your particular hotel if you're going to go through renovation and think about putting in hardwood floors. And Kareem and the team know this, and they're not going to push hardwood floors where it's not going to work. Make sure that you're influencing that appropriately. So if it's going to increase noise problems in your hotels because of the structure of the building, because of the way the rooms are laid out, et cetera, make sure that you're taking a hard look at that.
Specifically, if you're a post-tension construction building, it won't work. But we would like to see a hard surface entry then, some form of an entry rather than carpet to carpet. So if you're poured in place concrete, it's not been a problem. Thanks, David.
Kerry from the Deltas in Halifax. With all these new programs coming down the tubes, I think I speak for the majority of the Deltas. We're seriously understaffed. Will Marriott mandate staffing levels? Do we put it in the budget?
I think I'd like Barry to answer that question.
Well, that's it for QA. So thank you very much. And
It's probably one of our biggest concerns right now.
Which way can we exit quickly?
Well, what you heard in that clapping is how many in the room feel that they're overstaffed? So you have a lot of
difference
brothers
between
and
seriously understaffed and
Yeah.
understaffed.
Well, we're going to work on it over time. I think that, the programs that we introduce and we have introduced, and you heard it from an owner's perspective the other day, NOI, so you manage through that. We have a budget process, and a word that was used the other day by Rick Werbert, data. It's easier for me to sit at the budget table with the COO or with Mr. Cleary and advocate staff when we have data. Whether condition of room, and I at the risk of embarrassing him, I'm not going to use his name, but the hotel a couple of years ago, we had just ratcheted down so badly, 1,000-room hotel, that they took out the RPM team. There was no room preventative maintenance at this hotel. 1,000-room hotel. He was managing it by himself, and it was just a mess. And yeah, we were very proud on the finance side, but the customer experience was deplorable. And so we have to have the hard conversation. And that is my job, to advocate for staffing, but I can't go in with anecdotal stories. I have to go in with data. So it's condition of room, overall SAT, it's the condition of the bathroom, it's benchmarking against other like hotels. It's that type of data that makes my conversation a lot easier. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's conversational.
It's benchmarked now against other properties of the same size, but the Deltas, this program, especially the preventive maintenance program, it's to get through rooms 3 times a year. We're lucky if we can get through once right now. And so if you benchmark it to another Delta, yes, you're fine. But when I speak to a lot of fellows in this room, especially from the Americas, I mean, the staffing levels are quite a bit higher than what we have for similar properties.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, no. We know these are hard questions and hard answers to give. But the last thing I want you to do after leaving this conference is go back to your general manager and said, Bob Simonson said I get to hire 3 FTEs.
Of course, that's what I'm going to say.
Don't write that down.
I'm going to throw your name around everywhere I go when I get back. He said that.
The only thing that I would add is I'm going to tell you something that you already know. we're in a competitive business. So we're in a competitive business for the customers that we have that are coming into the hotels like this one and spending, $300 or $400 a night, because we have very worthy competition. We have Hilton, Starwood, et cetera, et cetera. But we are also in competition with those same companies and other management companies to get new deals, to continue to grow our brand, grow the company itself. And what we need to do is we always need to evaluate our business to make sure that we are right-sized. And there is things that we're trying to put in place that will help us with this. John was talking about Transcendent and scanning in and scanning out. That will help us eventually, when we're really good at that, understand the labor that is needed in the hotel in the right way. Focusing on the right things in the hotel, the basic, preventive maintenance tasks, the life safety tasks. Those are the things that we absolutely, positively have to do. But we have to understand a balance between, the risk and the reward, meaning that we have to have the right frequency for preventive maintenance in the hotel. We have to have the right frequency for, PMing the rooms, those kinds of things. So we're able to walk that balance and give value back to our owners. So as Bob said, this is a hard question for us to deal with, because we have all felt the pressure of reducing costs in our hotels, and we're going to continue to feel that pressure in the future. We don't want to get frustrated about it. We want to understand it. We want to be able to articulate the things that we need for the hotels to preserve the assets, especially if we have an owner that wants to flip the asset in a year or so. Again, that's where you can get support from your area directors or from Bob or myself.
Okay.
Thank you. I know there's got to be a couple more questions out there.
For select service properties, is that still coming down the pipe?
Repeat it so the audience can hear.
There's been talk about a light version of Quick Connect for select service properties. Is that still in the pipe somewhere?
Okay. The question is Quick Connect for select service, properties. So select service, it's a good tie-in to what I was saying a second ago. Select service needs to be even tighter from a financial model standpoint, much less labor, that kind of thing. We are evaluating a couple different technologies or methodologies, maybe, for putting a rapid response into a Seafirst hotel. On the other hand, we don't want to layer in bureaucracy to the hotels. If the hotels have found a really smart way to dispatch problems and take care of their customers, for us to come in and add a system that will add bureaucracy is not necessarily the right thing to do. And believe it or not, we want the most efficient thing. We just don't want to layer things into the properties that the properties don't need. So more to come. Probably nothing, really quickly, so stay tuned.
Good morning, everybody. Mike Hart, JW Marriott Star Pass Resort and Spa. My question to you is this is a meeting of information technology and facilities. I think this is the first one. I think it's well received. What do you see the integration looking like in the future between the two disciplines?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. What I would say is I don't think that there's going to be a merging of the disciplines. I think that there is going to be a lot of collaboration, and especially guest room entertainment, those kinds of things. We need to have a super tight partnership, because it's going to take everybody to roll this program out and get it working right in the hotels. The network has to work perfectly, the TVs have to work perfectly, et cetera, so that we can provide that really good customer experience. I think that we're going to continue to see our jobs evolve. We talked about skill sets a little bit earlier. One of the good things about this kind of conference is how many went to like the Wi-Fi troubleshooting in the room? So a few of you guys. I would also encourage you, besides the training skills, is to work on things like understanding the networks better in your hotel. For you to have that knowledge is only going to benefit the property in general. And you guys know this, it's been this way for a long time. is that your engineers, your staff is the front lines for the customers. So when they have a network problem, who goes up to the room? Most likely it's the engineers if you don't have an IT person on site. And most of the hotels in the room are like that, don't have an IT person on site. Danny,
Keith, get ready.
Well, the first one is kind of a follow-up question for manpower, and that is, what are you all doing to get out ahead of Carpedia?
Carpedia is, Danny, do you want to offer people, because you have a firsthand experience, you might have to explain what Carpedia is.
Okay, Carpedia is an outside consulting firm that comes into the hotel and does a study, basically a time and motion study. And then they report out back to the owners. The owners actually hired them in this property. But they followed our RPM people, they followed our engineers, they followed our GSTs, and basically at the end of their program said that they could save us 6,000 hours of engineering time because of wasted time or wasted efforts, okay? And some of that is very basic. They wanted, you know, our RPM people go up to a room and they paint the entire door. Carpedia says, oh, don't do that, just touch up, okay? You know, so it makes it tough. And we're sitting there, we have no recourse at that point in time. Now, I would tell you, and you know, Keith, for Transcendent, scan it in, out to get as many minutes, as many hours as you can, but it's going to hurt when they come to your property. And I know of at least 2 others in the room that have gone through it at this point in time, but it's coming, okay? So that's to the question.
So the question, what are
we
doing
to get ahead of it?
About 2 weeks ago, the Western Regional team and AVPs had a meeting with the Carpedia folks in Dallas, Texas. And it's a shame that we didn't manage ourselves, that owners like Host had to bring in a consultant to remind us to use the Atlas program. They frankly used data and management against us because we weren't using Atlas as a scheduling tool. So Atlas is, you're supposed to forecast what your, particularly in the outlets and banquets, what your hours are, and we were not accurately doing it. So Danny is bringing up the time motion study within the engineering discipline, but for this resort, they did not singularly focus on engineering. They focused on the entire resort operation, and frankly, shame on us for not managing ourselves and needing a Host consultant to come in and tell us what a better job we could be doing. So what are we doing? The answer question is the AVPs left that meeting with, let's ratchet up with our directors of finance and accounting people and human resources to ensure that we have the Atlas program robustly used at our facilities so that we don't need a third-party consultant to come in and tell us how to do a better job managing financially and scheduling. And then we do have the pushback. I believe that, I'm looking at Jim Brickell, who's right in front of you. I thought that the process here was where it didn't make sense for the business that there was some level of negotiations on the Carpedia recommendations. I don't think we accepted it 100%. Am I wrong on that?
It is not a done deal as far as how far we can go, at least with Host, but we are working on it at this point.
So.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
The next question, or actually plea, is for John Sipe. Can we get the program for CapEx, the 10-year plan, expanded so we can add more to it? It's a finite number that you can actually put on there of items, and for this property, it's not enough. So if we can get that expanded, because I've been told by the accounting people, you can't.
Let me look at it with Kevin Alward. I know it's a legacy system, Danny. It's the Blanchard system. I don't know how much expansion. That may be what forces us to push moving the entire capital process into Transcendent. So I'll do a follow-up on that.
Well, it's really all the time that we have for Q&A. We're going to bring the IT folks back in, and we're going to turn it over to Mark Cordes in just a second here. We'll be around at lunch and after the next break. So if there's any burning questions you want to talk to us about, come talk to us at that time. So other than that, thank you very much, and to you,
How
Mark.
about a nice round of applause for these gentlemen? Thank you so much.